Look at all these boxes left lying about. How curious, how peculiar.
With the Boxtrolls, I mean, it became such a big part of their character. Well, it's part of the appeal of what they were. It's just timid creatures.
How do you show that they're timid? They hide in their boxes if anybody sees them.
Our puppet department thought it was going to be a pretty simple thing to handle.
Both Georgina and I looked at the Boxtrolls and thought, this is great. These are simple puppets. They basically have a cardboard box and limbs sticking out of it.
Just make a box.
We thought, boxes, this is great. We've got all that space.
And boy, were we wrong. They're so complex.
It was a challenge to get all those limbs and those heads and everything to physically, truly fit into the box.
They have to be able to completely retract into their boxes.
Let's see you fit in your box.
I can't right now.
Mm-hmm.
We decided that we would put as much into the boxes, the initial boxes, as we could, get as much movement out of one puppet, and we literally sort of went about trying to retract them as much as possible. If you look underneath, it's quite amazing how much we managed to cram into one little box. Once we got to a point of we can't fit anything else into this box with armatures and physical, apparatus, then we knew that with replacement animation we could cheat the last bits. So Rapid Prototype and Brian's department got involved with making replacement head parts.
Replacement animation, by design, means that you have to literally remove a face to put on another one. So if you imagine these faces constantly hidden, we had to figure out how you're going to get access to it and how we were not only going to be able to have the animators need to replace faces, but how were we going to be able to take Fish, who's got this really long head, how we're going to drop that into his box. So we had a very elaborate system of half heads that audience member will never see, but as the head is dropping into a box, it actually goes from being a full head into this little tiny half head. But all that was complicated by the fact that these Boxtrolls needed to have sort of glowing eyes in certain scenes in the film. So that was its own problem to solve. We also had to figure out a way to now light these up and run little light bulbs or LEDs inside the heads and then wires out the back. We realized, well, wait a minute, how are you going to pull off the head to get the faces on and off? And as you're pulling it off, you're constantly having this wire dangle down, and then as you try to stick it back in, you're trying to find a way to feed the wire back into the box. And thinking about some poor animator doing that 24 times a second, we figured out we have to try something new. So we'd figured out a way to actually solder wires to magnets, using the magnets to connect the circuit. And the lights would glow, and then when you wanted to pop the head off, you popped it off, replaced the face, and dropped the head back on, and as soon as it made contact with the magnets, the lights would turn back on.
There were several different challenges. Initially, we were going to do a replacement arm sequence, but we realized that we didn't need RP to do that. They still needed to animate, so we actually just chopped our arms down. So we made shorter arms. We did it old school. We ended up making different varieties of Boxtrolls for different shots.
We kept using the overbuilt ones for close-ups so you could get some breathing and feeling that the box was resting on their shoulders, moving up and down.
With Fish and Shoot, they also had flaps that all needed to open.
Kind of a traditional approach to animation is to have squash and stretch. The boxes get hit by cricket bats and get stamped on, they get treated really badly. We built little stunt boxes that could fold in on themselves, and they were built out of little triangles, almost like those kind of little origami paper toys that children make. And they have a little winder inside, so they could squash and stretch the box. In just 3 or 4 frames would give us enough squash and stretch to pull off the gag. There's a scene where there's a huge press that does or does not destroy all the Boxtrolls. They're all produced in the same way, so we put in our origami paper engineered boxes for the squishing, and you just see it over like 3 frames. It's enough to kind of sell that they all collapse. There's definitely a culture within Laika of pushing ourselves and pushing each other and trying out new things.
They can figure out a way to do everything.
And that was a fun part. It was quite a challenge, but that was a lot of fun.
The challenges are the whole reason we do this.